There are two maps of America. The first is the one we use to navigate, the silver veins of highways and the green patches of public parks. But beneath that infrastructure lies a second map. It tracks what was removed. Beneath the concrete of a 6-lane freeway, there are the ghost outlines of streets. Beneath city parks, there are foundations. We are driving over the physical remains of erased spaces, a wooden porch and a kitchen table set for dinner, nesting under tons of asphalt. These removals follow a specific structural logic. They occur with a frequency and precision that suggests a system rather than a series of disconnected events. Look at this 1937 residential security map. These color-coded districts weren't just descriptions, they were tools. This is a geography of management, a way to reposition power and value through zoning lines and legal definitions before a single brick is ever moved. This structural force acts as a correction. It engages whenever Black communities build visible, self-sustaining wealth, ensuring that geographic stability does not lead to a permanent consolidation of power. In 1912, Oscarville, Georgia, was a community of Black families who owned land and operated their own farms. They built economic stability in a region that did not expect them to thrive. After an unproven accusation, white mobs moved through the county with torches and shotguns. They forced over 1,000 residents to leave their land. No court intervened to protect the owners. No legal system restored their property. Decades later, the federal government used eminent domain to acquire that same land. They cleared the remaining structures to make way for a regional reservoir. Oscarville still exists today, 60 feet beneath the surface of Lake Lanier. The chimneys and front porches are submerged under the water, used to power and supply the surrounding region. While mob violence emptied the land, it was state-sponsored infrastructure that legally sealed the theft, transitioning the erasure from a crime into a public works project. In Palm Springs, Section 14 was a Black community, built on land subject to strict geographical restrictions. Families who were barred from living elsewhere established their own culture and continuity in the desert. In 1957, the City Council authorized a different kind of removal. Instead of negotiating with residents, the city used systematic fire to clear the entire neighborhood for new development. A later state report described the destruction as a city-engineered holocaust. The report highlights that the displacement was not a side effect of growth, but a premeditated policy. Luxury resorts and swimming pools rose where the houses once stood. Today, leisure and commercial profit sit directly on top of the burned residential lots. The method had evolved. The mob had been replaced by the city council, and violence had been rebranded as an administrative tool for economic expansion. By the 1940s, Detroit's Black Bottom and Paradise Valley were dense commercial centers. They housed jazz clubs, pharmacies, and dozens of Black-owned businesses that flourished when white-owned establishments refused them service. City planners looked at this thriving neighborhood and applied a new set of labels: blight and obsolete. These words allowed the city to categorize a self-sustaining community as a problem to be solved. Using the Federal Slum Clearance Act, the city secured the funding to evict thousands of families. They demolished entire blocks, erasing the cultural and economic center of Black Detroit. In the rubble, the city built I-375. This freeway was paved directly over the neighborhood grid, physically replacing storefronts and homes with a multi-lane highway. Federal policy achieved the same result as the Oscarville mobs, but it did so through checks, demolition permits, and the language of urban renewal. Between 1949 and 1973, federal urban renewal programs displaced 1 million people. 2/3 of those families were African American, even in cities where they were a small minority of the population. The sequence repeats across decades. A community forms, stability becomes visible, external pressure increases, government intervenes, and land value is reassigned. This cycle has operated for over a century, moving from mob violence to city zoning to federal infrastructure. The goal of this machine is to prevent the long-term geographical consolidation of independent Black power. In 1838, James Weeks founded Weeksville in Brooklyn. It was a self-governed city with its own schools and a newspaper, providing Black citizens with political and economic leverage decades before the Civil War.
Weeksville wasn't destroyed by fire or flooded by a reservoir. Instead, as the modern street grid expanded, the city simply built over it. The name Weeksville was removed from the maps. This is administrative forgetting, the quietest form of erasure, where a community's identity is simply not printed on the new grid. Removing land scatters family lineages and halts the transfer of wealth. It interrupts time, forcing each generation to start over from zero, without the stability of a physical home. The lakes, resorts, and highways of modern America are not neutral feats of progress. They are monuments to a silent system of removal. We navigate that system every day. We just have to look at the map beneath the map.